Good evening and welcome to tonight's Social Thought Leadership webcast. If you're joining us, let us know where you're joining from, and if you have questions, please pop them in the chat and a member of our team will be moderating the chat tonight so that you can ask questions. And also, really importantly, if you do have questions and we can't cover them or we don't cover them in the content tonight, check out our website and our blog because we will be answering your questions there. Just as people are coming and joining the session, do let us know where you're joining from in the chat. Just as people are joining, please do go find me on social media. On LinkedIn is my main channel, Dean Seddon, and let's connect there. And if you've got more questions from tonight's session, please do message me, DM me on LinkedIn, and I'll do my best to answer all of your questions. So tonight's webcast is all about social thought leadership. What is it? How can you use it? What are the different types of social thought leadership? And we're going to cover those in about 45 minutes or so, and that's what we're going to go through. But importantly, as you're joining this, some of you may say, well, actually, this is great. I'm getting free training and free resources. And that's what this is all about. If at the end of this session you go, I need some help, there's a link on the screen. You can get a call, a strategy call or a discovery call booked with a member of our team who can help you make sense of this, learn a little bit more, and also tell you a little bit about how we help businesses grow. So we're live for the session, and if you're ready to go, you need a notepad and pen. This is a training session where I'm going to explain some things to you, and it's really key that you make your notes. If you'd like a copy of the replay or any of the things I reference in tonight's session, please do drop us an email to hi@maverrik.io. I'll try and do it there. Hi@maverrik.io. Email us there and say, Dean mentioned some of the things in the session tonight. Can I have what he said? So I might mention a content framework. So I'll probably mention the content framework. I'll also mention some of the mechanics of how you build social thought leadership, particularly on LinkedIn, but it can work everywhere. Okay, let's get started. So first things first, what is social thought leadership? What does it mean, this thought leader title? And to be honest with you, it means so much and so little, the thought leadership title. It's a bit like influencer. Well, influencer has become a common title people use on Instagram and other platforms to say, I'm an influencer. In other words, I have the ability to shape a group of people's thoughts and get them to take action. It's like having your own tribe as an influencer. Now, what we're talking about is something similar where people look to you for insight, for light bulb moments, and for understanding on how to do or achieve something. So a thought leader is somebody who gives and translates information and helps people make sense of that information and how it applies to them. And so you can be a thought leader in lots of different topics or some key topics. The key is, if you're starting out and seeing thought leadership as an opportunity for you, is that you really understand the space you're going to occupy, the topics you're going to cover, the industries you're going to speak into, and do the things to build the audience who look to you for your insight, who look to you for you to make sense of it. So as we go through tonight's session, please do make notes. But if there's questions, drop them on the email there or DM me on LinkedIn and I'll answer them as we go. So as we've said, social thought leadership is just being on a social platform or platforms and influencing an audience with your insight, your thoughts, and that they value and those thoughts that you have add value. So it's one thing, and this is where I would challenge some people, and maybe some people would disagree with me. You can be an influencer by title and have no influence. You can be a thought leader and not have any thought leadership. So what do I mean by that? I mean that you can have all the appearances of somebody with influence but have no power. You can have all the appearance of being a respected industry leader and have no attention. You can have the best ideas in the world. You can have the most eye-opening things in the world. But if you don't get it out there and you don't get it into to the hands of people who can benefit from it, they're going to struggle. And then you've got the inverse side of that. You've got people who've got the audience and got the crowd, but not making any dent or impact into that crowd. So on LinkedIn, for an example, you can see this. You can see people with huge followings, like 1 million people following them. And when they put out content, it's a funny TikTok video, or it's a picture of a beautiful palm tree, or there's a lot of people who influence people in terms of motivational quotes, and they do that to get the attention and eyeballs of people, but can't really make them do anything. So I see this a lot. I talk to a lot of people who've built this big audience, but actually they haven't got any influence for the audience to take action. So what we really want is we want a group of people who look to us for insight, look to us for explanation, and are responsive to us, So these two things have to go hand in hand. Yes, we want all the external validation and the external metrics, but we actually want people who will buy our stuff, hang on what we say, trust what we say, and take action on what we say. And social thought leadership is using the social platform and developing that thought leadership where it has an impact. So let me ask you this. That's the first thing. Let's just lay it out. Social thought leadership. What is it? That is what it is. It's influencing people through a social channel. And I really mean influence. I don't mean that they just enjoy your funny videos. I mean that the content you put out, videos, blogs, whatever it is, actually it adds value to their world in a specific way. So let me ask you the next question, because this is really important in helping you understand, how do I want to use social thought leadership? How do I want to benefit from it? And how am I going to add value from it? And to do this, you really have to think about, where do I want to end up? Where do I want to end up? Because you can get yourself into a very frustrating position if you don't understand this at the outset. So there are generally 2 reasons you want to be a social thought leader. Just very simply, they fall into 2 camps. Number 1 is financial. You want to build a business, you want to grow a customer base, you want to become a speaker, professional speaker, you want to speak at conferences, you want the financial benefit from being a thought leader. That's number 1. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with saying, I'm going to be a social thought leader for a financial gain. There's nothing wrong in that at all. You just have to understand the difference in the model of social thought leadership versus if you're doing it for recognition. Now, a lot of the activity you do will be the same, but if you're trying to influence an audience because you want to benefit from it financially, that's more marketing angle, whereas recognition is about your peers, the market you're in, your industry, and a particular set of people looking to you for insight. Now, both things can happen together, but where it goes wrong for many people is they go into social thought leadership to make a living or money, but don't build out their plan of how they're going to do that. And so what happens is they build a crowd of people who love what they do, look to them for insight, but then struggle to make that pay because the audience they've built isn't the right people who want to invest in working with you and building the relationships with you and becoming a client. So it's really important that you understand which type of thought leadership. Is it recognition? So you want to be in newspapers, you want to be on a speaking circuit, you want to be in industry magazines, you want to be on television. That's okay for recognition. And you will make money from that, but it's a different business model than if you're trying to sell people into your program or your business. You have to have those two things very clear at the outset. So if you're trying to do this for recognition and industry, you will need to map out who is it you're going to influence and what areas are you going to influence. The same with a financial gain. What is it you're selling as a result of this thought leadership? Because the topic and the sale have to link up. You can't go, actually, I'm going to be a palm tree influencer and I'm going to be about holiday destinations and then try and sell accountancy services. There has to be some joined up positioning of where you're going to be in the market as a thought leader. So if I'm trying to influence CEOs of technology companies, I'm probably not going to talk about coding. If I'm trying to influence CEOs of technology companies, I might be talking about business models that can scale. I might be talking about the challenges of leading technology companies. I might be talking about new ideas that can help people in these fields. So you really need to understand who you're selling to, who you're influencing, so that you can create your positioning of your social thought leadership. If you're trying to influence technology people, so techie people, you're going to have a very different message. It's going to be more technical, it's going to be more coding based and things like that. So it's really important that you understand that. And there are three real tiers of thought leadership, and it applies in every area. So I'll give you the three key areas. So you've got the technical level. So that's know-how. How do you do something? How does this work? Explaining complicated functions in a way that anybody can get. So there's a technical function. You become the techiest tech person. There's the tactical. How do we do something? Not how do we do it, how do we do something? So that's how do we resolve a pressing problem? And that's the tactical level. So again, there's three levels. So you've got the technical, the tactical, which is more about how do we make something happen? How do we make something happen? And then the strategic level, which is the why. So if strategic is the why, the tactical is the what, and the technical is the how. Now, often these mix, but you have to choose a level to occupy. And neither level is wrong, but you have to choose. Am I appealing to very technical people? Am I appealing to tactical people who are looking at solutions and how to fix something? And then the technical who are implementers, they're doing it, they're making it work. So it's a bit like a web developer is a technical, but how do I build a web development business is strategic, and tactical would be how do I grow my web development business and tactics around it. So you need to think of which is the level you're primarily going to occupy, because they're very, very different. And yes, you'll dabble in the strategic and you'll dabble in the technical, but if you're occupying the tactical, you need to be clear because it's a different audience for each level. So as you're determining your audience, you need to map this out against, okay, am I doing this for a financial benefit? Is that the primary goal? Is the second primary goal recognition? And at what level am I going to establish my social thought leadership? What level do I want to operate at? And all levels are good. Yeah, you can be the best web developer and become a social thought leader in web development. You can be the best CEO of a web development company and be a social thought leader to CEOs of companies or CEOs of development companies. So there's a space for you to occupy. And you don't need a big crowd to become a social thought leader. We think millions, we think tens of thousands of people. Actually, there's a really good book called Superfans. I forget the name of the author, but it's a really good book, and effectively the key message or the key takeaway is that for you to actually earn a living, you only need around 1,000 people to really get what you're doing and why. About 1,000 people. Now, 1,000 people to some of you goes, that's not a lot of people at all, but to 1,000 people to some people, that will be a huge number. And it's not just having an email list of 1,000 people. It's trying to get a list and an audience of 1,000 people who are highly engaged with you. They see the value and they engage with the value. And so this is why it's really important to understand the level of social thought leadership you want to occupy, the space you want to occupy, because if you jump around too much, you don't get the depth of superfan. You don't get the depth of audience where the audience are really engaged. And I'll be straight with you, it's really hard, really easy to build an email list. It's really easy to build an email list. But to build an email list of engaged people is work and is a commitment. Now, when I do these sessions, we'll get anywhere from 500 to 5,000 people register. And we know that some people will register in the spur of the moment and some people will register diligently and thoughtfully because they want to learn and they'll put it in their diary and there's a commitment. And so you're always going to deal with a group of people who get value from one thing, a group of people who check you out, and a group of people who actually are really intensely engaged. And some of you will be watching now. That's the reality of life, by the way. Some people will not engage fully and you'll be in their periphery and you'll be out there in their world. And other people, you'll be part of their go-to people to talk to listen to because they've got something to say. And so you have to accept that not everybody is going to be a superfan. Some people are just going to be out there in your periphery. And that's a good thing, by the way. And establishing your name and aligning your name with the topics is where you win. You want a large group of people, more than 1,000, to align your name in their heads, to align your name, your face, with very specific topics. So if you want to be in construction, is it just you want to be a social thought leader in construction? That's great. But on what aspects? At what level? Is it strategic? Are you trying to influence and provide leadership into business owners in the construction sector? Are you trying to bring leadership and thought leadership into the employees of the company, the management teams and those people? Or are you trying to provide leadership in the skill base? In other words, showing people how to up their skills. Think about those areas because they're very different people. The CEO of the company may not be interested in engaging with a thought leader on construction skills. May not be. Yeah, this is where the research is. Or at least they may not be engaged permanently. So this is where when we talked about the strategic, the tactical and the technical, if you're at the technical level, let's perhaps say you're really a champion of skills in the construction sector and upskilling people in the construction sector. But you're talking to the people who want to upskill themselves. So you're talking to the tradespeople. There will come a time, that's very technical level, plumbers, joiners, bricklayers, all of those people, electricians. If you're talking to that level of audience, that's one thing. Great. There will come a time when you actually speak to the managers at a tactical level and say, this is how you get the best from your tradespeople. and you bring those managers in, but those managers are transient people. They will not engage with every video. They'll not engage with every piece of content because not every piece of content is relevant. Likewise, you may engage with CEOs of construction companies because there is a skills shortage, and you might challenge the companies on their skills shortage and how they fix that and how they take ownership of that problem to fix it. So you may do all of that stuff, but your core crowd, your day-to-day crowd might be the technical level or variations thereof. And so it's important that you ask yourself, who is going to be the crowd that you're going to give value to on a daily or weekly basis? Who is that crowd? And you need to really nail it. Now, when you go, okay, 1,000 people, I need 1,000 superfans, how do I find them? The temptation is to go broad. So to find your 1,000 fans, as the book I suggested says, the temptation is to go broad. And so what happens is you go broad, but then your message goes broad. And so you can't focus it, and so you don't appeal to anybody. Your content isn't relevant. Your thought leadership isn't relevant on a daily or weekly basis to those people. And so you end up with a big transient audience. They come in because you were talking about bricklaying, but then they check out because the next day you're talking about credit control. So you need to build that core audience. And let me be clear. Let's say you want to be a social thought leader in plumbing, yeah, or in accounting. It doesn't matter where it is, but accounting's broad. You can be a social thought leader in plumbing. Because 1,000 sounds like a lot. How do I find 1,000 people in the plumbing business that will pay attention to me? You've got a global audience. You've got platforms that give you global. And the more relevant you are, the more attention you get from the right people. And so you could build a social thought leadership platform for yourself on the social channels, just talking to bricklayers. Literally just talking to bricklayers. This is what YouTube does, and you see people on YouTube creating videos, creating content in very specific markets, very specific, because they want to attain and grab hold of one specific audience. They want to be known for one key thing. So the key is, or the secret is, or the tip here is, don't go broad, go very specific, and really focus in and do a mind map and map out all of the things that would be challenging for that audience and try and address them all. Skills, is there issues, is there challenges, are there common problems, all of those things. And as you do them, you'll do them at a very general level on that mind map. And then what will happen is one of your spokes off your central point will create another one. Yeah, and then there might be, oh, actually I'm targeting plumbers, but actually I'm now going to do a strand of, actually these are plumbers who are employed and now they want to work for themselves. How do they set up their own plumbing business? Or this plumber wants to diversify, maybe they want to employ more people. How do they manage that? So you can build it out however you want, but it starts with a mind map. It starts with understanding the levels of where you want to speak at, and critically, knowing your platform, what are you trying to achieve with it? Now, it may well be that you want to monetize your thought leadership in the future, in which case I'd be very careful about how you present yourself at the front end of this to make sure that people don't see you or confuse you, and you get a lot of nice people paying attention but don't realize that you're actually providing a service. So it's very important that you map out all of these things out. So the first thing is to map out the levels of leadership you want where you want to speak to people. Where's the primary level? Is it tactical? Is it technical? Or is it strategic? The second thing is, who's the audience? Who is the audience? What's the sector, and what's the specific elements of that sector you're going to target? So for an example, trades, you could become a social thought leader for tradespeople who want to go out on their own as a freelancer, a contractor, or set up their own business. There's one you could do. Tradespeople, so plumbers, joiners, electricians, and then the added focus is they want to start their own business. Now, as you do your mind map, which is the next bit, and start mapping out all of the things that they might be thinking about, you can start to go, okay, this is all of what they're starting to think about, and you will learn more and more and more and more and more. And that mind map will get bigger and more detailed as you implement. And the key here is to be a prolific implementer by publishing content as much as you can, with one caveat. As much as you can that you can sustain. So I've seen some people where they go, oh, I'm going to do this. They're so excited, they're really up for it. And they end up where they go over the top and go, do you know what? I'm going to post content. I'm going to put 4 posts a day out on LinkedIn. I'm going to put 4 out on Facebook. I'm going to do a video on YouTube every day. I'm going to write a blog on Medium. I'm going to do TikTok videos. I'm going to do everything. The problem is, after about a week of doing that, they can't sustain it. And the reality is, it might take you 6 months to start to really see the benefits of this process. I'd love to promise you, and sometimes it does happen, but you can't say it happens for everybody. I'd love to say to you that you can do this all in a week. Yeah, but you can't. This is a long-term game. Thought leadership is about the long term. It's about influencing people over and over and over again until you've built this crowd. Yes, you'll make an impact in week 1. Yes, you'll make an impact in week 2. Yes, you'll make an impact in 3 months. Of course you will. But to really cement this, it will probably take you 6 months of doing something consistently, day in, day out, week in, week out. And so having a big splurge of activity following this training is exciting and motivating, but it quickly can flip to soul destroying if you can't sustain it, because then you get disappointed that you've not followed through on your own plan. So here's what I would do. I would start by posting content, and you can check out our content webcast that was coming up soon. Check on our LinkedIn company page, and on the event side, we have a content that converts session, which will be really useful for helping you put the content together. So go check out that and book yourself in for that. It's free. You want to do something you can sustain. So I have a little routine that I've got, and I struggle with this, and I do all my own content. You know, Maverrik, there's 40 odd people working in the company. We've got video editors, content writers, we've got graphic designers, the works. But even now, my social content, I write, I publish. And the reason I do that, Dean said in social media, the reason I do that is because if I'm going to tell somebody else to do it, I have to understand what their challenges are and their difficulties are. So I've got 5 main channels that I'm focused on. And I'm not consistent with them all, but I'm consistent with many. So, are you ready? I'm on LinkedIn every day, every single day. I'm on YouTube every week. This channel, Maverik's channel, but also my own. I'm on our Facebook group once a week. I'm on Quora, and I'll come to Quora in a minute because it's really useful for you, at least once or twice a week. And I'm on Instagram, but Instagram I'm using more personally at the moment. I'm on Instagram 3 times a week. Now that's just about manageable for me, and if I can get myself a little bit more organised and manage my time better, because time management is not one of my strong points personally, I can probably up the ante on that. So you have to pick where's your main channel, and LinkedIn is my main channel because that's where my audience is. And you will need to map out where are your audience. Your audience is everywhere, of course, but there are specific channels where there's more of them, or it's more easily identifiable to find them. So for me, LinkedIn's brilliant. It's brilliant for the audience that I want. You may go, actually, my audience is on Facebook, my audience is on Twitter. And you can do some research on Google to find out where are they. And the research will tell you. YouTube, of course, pretty much everybody's there. Pretty much everybody's there. But the key to finding the audience and the key to getting that audience's attention is understanding what are their challenges, what are their questions, what are the things that are keeping them up at night, what are the things that they're concerned about, what are the opportunities they're not sure of. And one of the great platforms for this that's actually many people don't even pay attention to is Quora. Quora is a questions site. And there's whole communities of people asking questions and sharing answers. And I'd encourage you, really encourage you to get into Quora. It's relatively easy to build a crowd there. And I would proactively decide to go and answer questions, a couple of questions every week. So I go on Quora and I answer social selling questions, I answer LinkedIn questions, I answer sales questions, I answer social media questions, I answer revenue and pricing questions, and give my answers freely. And people come and they engage with the answers. They come find me on social media channels. And I've built up very quickly, without any effort, tens of thousands of people who viewed my answers and paid attention to my answers. So Quora is a brilliant platform for getting your answers out there, getting your message out there, getting some things out into the world. But secondly, learning what people are struggling with, the challenges they're facing. So you can use Quora as a first start, and you can use Quora as a research tool. So what can you do with Quora as a research tool? Well, number one, people will be asking questions. Search the questions and it'll tell you how popular the questions are, and you can see how popular the answers are, and you can go, I need to do a topic on that. And you can write a blog, put it on your website, you can write a post and put it on LinkedIn about the things that you're learning that people are struggling with from Quora. And of course, you can answer that question on Quora. One of the other things about social thought leadership that's really useful to understand is it's not just about saying something once. It's about consistent repetition. So you will need to almost bang a drum for the same points many, many, many times. So one of the really good things that you can do with this is go, okay, I've done my research on Quora and it's free. I've got these topics, these questions people are struggling with. Why don't I now answer those questions on social media as posts? Why don't I now do a video on that and put it on YouTube? Why don't I do an Instagram story and a condensed version with a link to the YouTube? Why don't I do a couple of images or a PDF for LinkedIn and share all of these same questions, just repurposing them on different channels? You're almost doing the same thing on every channel, but it's different for each channel. So on Instagram, you might do a video or an image and a caption. You might do a story. On YouTube, you're going to do the video version, and it might be a 3 or 10-minute video. I think 10-minute videos are the most popular ones these days. So you might do a 10-minute video. Then on LinkedIn, you might write a post with an image or a PDF with some slides explaining the points. And on Facebook, you might do a text post. But the general theme is the same. You're just adapting and repurposing the same message across the different channels. And then you look at your next one. And so the content piece of this isn't that hard, because people on Quora are telling you what they're faced with, the struggles they're faced with. The next bit of stages that you can do, if you get that nailed, is to start to produce more chunkier articles that maybe you can share and ask people. If you're on LinkedIn, you can ask some of the industry people you're connected with, does this hit the mark? And don't be afraid of criticism, by the way. Sometimes we can put stuff out and we're worried what our peers think. Now, some of you watching this will not be putting stuff out because you are worried about what your peers think. Oh, it's not quite right. It's not this, it's not that, it's not the other. And so you sit on it. And some of you are just putting it out there and hoping nobody sees it because you're just worried about what people will say. So here's my tips on this. You're always going to get people who disagree with you. Always. Always. You think about Joe Biden, Boris Johnson, any of our world leaders today, and they have to influence people. Boris Johnson has to influence people to take action. Joe Biden had to influence people to take action. So you've got a position whereby our world leaders rely on being able to influence people to back them, to do a proactive decision to back them. And you may not like this example, but it's true. For Joe Biden, Boris Johnson to get elected, they need about 30% of their crowd, their audience, 30% of the population to back them. 30%. So that's probably something like 80 million people in America. And it's probably something like, I don't know, 20 million or something in the UK. 20 million people and 80 million people in the US, roughly. That's what they need to back them to win, to become the leader of the country. Which means that 2/3 of those people, 2/3 of the people who are in that country did not vote for them. And some of that percentage, a percentage of those people who didn't vote, actually don't like them. There will always be people who don't like you. There'll be people who don't like me. But we're not doing it. We're not doing it to find the people who don't like us, and we're not doing it to provoke people who don't like us. We're not trying to agitate people and become, thrive off attention by controversy. What we're trying to do is find people we can add value to. We're trying to find people who we can give them a light bulb moment where they go, that makes sense now. That really makes sense. And so you're going to have to put yourself out there. You're going to attract some criticism. You're going to attract some people who disagree. Your job is to just take that on the chin, to just take the hit. And sometimes, even this happens to me, you put something out and realize, damn it, I was wrong. Don't be afraid of that. That's just the nature. We're human beings. We can't be right about everything. We can't be right about every prediction. We can't be right about every industry thing. Just do your best. And remember to talk from your expertise. So have a look at your own skills. Have a look at your skills audit and go, what do I know that other people are not as far on the journey as me? What do you know? What have you achieved that you can talk from a position of experience and share with others? There's loads of people on social media who are positioning themselves as influencers and thought leaders about things they've never done and don't understand. That is a very dangerous game because someday you'll get found out. Your job is to talk from, this is where I've been, this is what I think, and this is what my experience tells me. And the best scenario for you, especially starting out, is to focus on, if I'm here, who's a few steps behind me that I can help? Who's a few steps behind me that I can help? If I'm a business owner, and I'll give you a scenario, I've founded Maverrik, there's a lot of things I can teach CEOs of multinational companies. But I can't teach them how to run a multinational company because I've never led a PLC company. I can't do it. I'd be talking crap, basically, with no experience. I can talk to them about how to build a nimble organization that can grow and scale, and I can bring the insights from what I've learned that they could apply to a division within their business, or they could apply some of the principles. I can teach a CEO of a company how they can leverage their influence on a platform. I can teach a marketing department how they can use content to get more leads for the sales team. I can teach a sales team how to prospect more on social channels in an organic and non-pushy way. But I can't tell the CEO the best way to run his multinational PLC because I don't have the experience. Now, in 10 years' time, Maverrick's a global company and we got millions of people working for us. Sure, I can do that. Absolutely, I can do that because I've got the experience, I've got the knowledge, and I've dealt with some of the pitfalls and challenges myself. Now, there is a different track you can take than experience when it comes to social thought leadership, and that's the coordinated and the collater and the researcher. So you could go and research and provide insight based off data you've got from people with experience. So you could interview CEOs of multinational companies, collate those research, and then share that and curate it as a conversation that you bring together, helping people see some of the big opportunities and the big decisions you might face as a leader of a multinational company. You can be the researcher and the curator and be a social thought leader in that space, but it has to be clear when you're talking from your experience and when you're talking from research. They're two different camps to occupy. You can cross over, but you have to be able to back yourself in one of the two. And if you're not experienced, you have to be the curator or the researcher. So we've got to wrap up now, but I just want to recap some of the things that we've talked about tonight that will help you. Number one, social thought leadership is about you influencing a crowd. You need about 1,000 people to really buy into you, to really make an impact. And that 1,000 people is not going to come from one-hit wonders, trial and error, playing around, doing it one day and forgetting the next. You have to be consistent. You need to decide on what's your business model or business case for doing it. Is it the recognition? Do you want to do that? And that's perfectly fine. You want to be recognized in your industry. Perhaps you've got a business that's functioning well already. You don't need it for the money. You just want to do it because you want to get your ideas out into the world and you're passionate about your ideas and thoughts. Cool. There's also the financial angle. You want to do it as a monetization thing. You want to get in front of more people to become a speaker, get paid to speak. You want to be sell your products and services off the back of being a social thought leader. That's fine, absolutely fine. But you need to understand what your motivation is, or your primary motivation is. There's 3 levels of thought leadership. There's the tactical, the technical, and the strategic. Make sure you know which space you're occupying, because if you pick the wrong audience, you won't be able to consistently produce the materials and the insights that will keep that crowd engaged with you. And so it's really important that you use and pick up on the key things that matter to the people that you're going to talk to. Quora, brilliant research tool, helps you understand what people are struggling with, the challenges, the topics, all of that stuff. And also then it gives you the opportunity to repurpose that content into all the social channels consistently, but repurposing it in different ways, different media formats. And you're going to repeat yourself many times, but you might repeat yourself with a different nuance. It might take a different shape this time than that time. But the simple principles are the same. You're going to have to be prolific, and it's going to take 6 to 12 months for you to really nail this. Because as you get out there, you'll learn, and all human beings learn as they implement. Theory is no good. Practice is where you make perfect. You can't perfect something that's theory. You can only perfect it in the implementation, because that's where you get the resistance, the feedback, the surprises. So many times I've published things on LinkedIn that I think are going to be brilliant and they sucked. And then I put something up that I go, I'm not sure about this, and it flies. And so even now, I've been doing this for 5 years on LinkedIn, owning LinkedIn space for my social channel. And there's some days I just go, that's a surprise. I didn't know that. And I learn something new. The more you do, the more you learn and the better you get. And so this is about implementation. So you're going to need to be prolific. You're going to need to make mistakes. There's some mistakes you'll avoid, some mistakes you can avoid, and there's others you can't. You're just going to find them and discover them as you go. So if you've got questions from tonight, and just as an aside, we do have a resource called the Content Framework. If you'd like a copy, it'll just help you understand some some steps you can take in constructing content that's got some insights for people and you don't end up twisting and turning all over the place. The content framework, it's a free PDF resource. It's dead simple. Once you see it, you'll get it. Just email us on screen here and we will send you the content framework. If you've had value from tonight's session, please do come follow me on LinkedIn. I'd appreciate that. Some of you have got questions, DM me, but we will be publishing blogs about all your questions tonight and we'll be sharing them on our website. And also email our team if you want to ask another question that we didn't get to or something we didn't cover tonight. And finally, please share the love on social media. Like, comment, subscribe, follow, all that stuff. It'd be awesome. Thanks so much for watching. Hang on, we've got a promo at the end of the video, but I'll see you back next week for another webcast where we'll be teaching you stuff to grow your business, grow your margin, grow your profit.
Last year, Maverrik has helped generate more than 15 million in new business. The biggest reason for this is our 90-day training and implementation platform we call the Accelerator program, where we teach your team to sell on social media with an implement-as-you-go strategy. It's not a pre-recorded course, it's hands-on sales training that develops and grows with you, with 90 days of real action that generates business and long-term revenue. So who is it for? This program is for entrepreneurs, marketing and sales professionals who want to sell without ads, cold calling or pushy tactics. A better way of selling with real steps to take which speeds up your sales process without burning any bridges. These are just a few examples of results our members have achieved using the Accelerator. As you can see, the Accelerator isn't about quick wins, it's about building a better sales process. If you'd like to learn more, just book a call with the Maverrik team and we'll show you how the Accelerator program can win you new business.